Hi, it's Kirby Summers, and I welcome you to the Epstein Project podcast. Today is May 8th. It's a Sunday. It's about 1 o'clock my time, and it's Mother's Day. So, for everyone who's a mother, and even those who are not, you still should have, hopefully, a really, really good Mother's Day. And sort of a renewed optimism. The mother is a symbol of renewal. And I've always believed that in everything bad that ever happens, there's a silver lining. And sometimes it shows itself right away. And there are other times that it takes a little bit longer to sort of see, oh, okay, this is what I sort of learned from this experience, or this is what this eventually, the road that this eventually put me on. So I want to talk about the opportunity that we have right now. And before I get started, please like the video. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Everything is sort of been really odd. And I have to remind you that Alexander Acosta made a statement when he was being sort of reviewed after Donald Trump selected him to become the I believe it was the labor secretary in 2017. There's sort of like this confirmation process. So they ask questions of the person who has been nominated for a particular position. And he was questioned as to the leniency of Jeffrey Epstein's non-prosecution agreement. And within his answer, the reply was, I was told to back off, that he, meaning Epstein, belonged to intelligence. He was above my pay grade. I was told to back off. Literally, this is what he said. I want to remind you that we're not following an ordinary case. This is the spy scandal of our collective lifetimes. This is bigger than the Jonathan Pollard scandal. This is the first time, and I have said this in many, many interviews that I've given and in many of the podcasts and in a lot of my tweets, but this is the first time we, the public, have been allowed into the back room, so to speak, of an international child and human trafficking organization that is allegedly, and in my opinion, run by one or more governments, and that has been in existence for a very long time, that morphs, that intertwines with others of the past, such as the Franklin scandal, the Finders. I've said this 100 gazillion times. I've said that. Okay, maybe not 100 gazillion times, but I'm sure I've said it at least 100 times. So when we're studying, sort of sharing notes, poking around, and it's been a lot of us who are doing this, we're bound to come against people who don't want anything to be discovered. And so are there mysterious forces at work, let's say, into having us fight with each other? Yes. Is there perhaps a hidden hand or two or three or four confusing people who are involved into perhaps behaving in a way that is a little bit unusual? Yeah, the chances are that you can expect as much dirty stuff to be happening to obscure our ability to really see what's going on. It's sort of like if I'm going to find something, it's like the 3-card Monty thing. And like, I mean, there are countless stories historically showing how you're supposed to watch this here, but over here, this is what's happening. So there's a lot of stuff that's being thrown at us to not only distract us, but to discredit those of us who are sort of on the front line. Somebody like myself, okay? I have been discredited for, let's say, since 1993. Yeah. So since 1993, you know, I began to try to tell my story. I think I finished the first time I wrote my memoir, for example, The Billionaires Woman. I did it as it's sort of, I didn't name names, but I think I did that in 1995. And I was one of the first people that I knew that was online. And every time I was online and I tried to tell my story, immediately out of nowhere, there would be like 100. I didn't know to call them trolls at the time, but at least 100 trolls who appeared. So my experience, and I'm going to share a little bit of that with you right now because it's pertinent to what we're discussing. Throughout the years, I knew something was off because I would be contacted by people working for the Justice Department, for the State Department. I remember one person in particular who sort of he befriended me, and I discovered, you know, he was working for the CIA in a division that was overseeing the nuclear division. I had several, like, odd things would happen to me all the time. So if I got, let's say, an agent who became interested in my work, it would be maybe a couple of days, but the agent would inevitably meet my abuser at a function, and the agent would come back to me and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't represent you because of X, Y, or Z." Or when I would be interviewed by any media, mainstream media, and I gave many interviews, they would come back to me and say, "Oh, you know, the reporter is on vacation and the story would just never be printed." So I know what it's like to battle a powerful person. I didn't go the court route because it took many years for me to really just overcome all of the terrible things that had happened to me. I'm not going to go into that here because this is not why I want to talk to you. But I do want to at least say that I'm familiar with it. So it's sort of like, okay, but you guys may not be. And so that what happened with, let's say, me finally having to hire an attorney because Maria Farmer has been defaming me. And I didn't know how bad it was until my attorney said, start collecting X, Y, and Z. And then people started to say, hey, this has been happening, or this has been happening. And I'm like, you know, I didn't really know, because every now and then I would make an effort and I would be talked out of pursuing the matter to have her stop. However, what's interesting is that what initially seemed like a really bad situation, for me at least, has turned into a really golden opportunity for us all, because we have learned that yes, I was right. I hate to say I was right, but I was right. Maria Farmer did enlist the help of Johnny Vedmore and apparently Whitney Webb. And she's now attacking them for not coming to her rescue again in her attempt to help some person who really I don't know anything about. So I'm not going to, I don't even remember the guy's name. However, I want to remind you about what happened when I decided that, oh, wait a minute, I can't, I'm not going to be at Maria's beck and call every time she wanted me to attack someone. So the first time she approached me to attack someone was in April, 2 years ago. I believe it was April of 2020, when she contacted me via DM and wanted me to create a petition against the New York Academy of Art. And she and I spent a couple of days talking, and this is when I was able to get her on Sean Atwood's show, and this is when I was able to get her on the True Annan podcast. This is when, I helped to raise money for her. She had a GoFundMe at the time. And this is when I basically, put all my time, and you guys know that I just keep going. I mean, it's Sunday. I keep going in this battle because it's the first time that, like, the Me Too movement sort of was built around a group of well-known Hollywood actresses. And yeah, we all kind of cheered them on against Harvey Weinstein because it's like, me too, me too, me too, me too. We didn't see much of a gathering of the Me Too with this Epstein situation. However, we're here and we're still united in the one goal of exposing predatory behavior, of ending human trafficking, of making a dent in exposing people who take advantage of children in inappropriate ways. We're doing that. And yeah, is it going to be difficult? Has it been difficult? Yes, guess what? I think this is it. We're over the hump. They can't throw any more at us. They can't try to badmouth me any more than they already have. It's all, we're like over it. But yeah, I mean, I have an attorney. It's my understanding that David Boies, in January, after I sent him a cease and desist to have Maria Farmer stop attacking me so viciously. You have no idea, people. She has a troll army who pass around photographs of the building where I live. So as somebody whose life has been in danger, I have been terrified. I never know what's going to happen when I step outside. Is one of Maria's followers going to harm me physically? So I'm terrified. But you know what? It's not the first time I've been terrified, and I keep going. I keep going because the goal is that if we expose and we put it front and center, we name the abusers. Let's say Harvey Weinstein was named. I've named my abuser. Prince Andrew was outed. It makes it difficult for the men following this case or the women, because Ghislaine Maxwell is a woman, and there were many women who enabled Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking ring. It's not a gender specific problem, but it will hopefully put a dent, I'm sure it has already, into anyone who is engaged in this or who is lured into this to hopefully stop before they go too far. And this, so they can't throw anything more at us. Don't let what's happened discourage you. You've all come to the table with open hearts, with a desire to help end human trafficking, with a desire to help victims of sexual assault and victims of rape and victims of, just you're all incredible people. But I know that everybody is a little bit flummoxed. I don't know of a better word to use, so I'm going to use flummoxed. By seeing all of the infighting. It's intentional. It's intentional. It has been intentional. And by the way, I'm going to be making another podcast about the 2 different times that I know of where the tapes that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell allegedly made of high-profile men. The 2 different times that these tapes were going to be released to the public and what happened and how they were both times that I am aware of personally, they were labeled a hoax. During one of these instances, Virginia Giuffre and I were DMing on Twitter. And she revealed to me that she knew there were black market copies of the Epstein tapes, so that apparently it wasn't just, let's say, the FBI who got the tapes. And remember, these tapes have been ongoing for decades. It's, so whatever the FBI has is for a short period of time, because it's not like Epstein, from what I've read, reading depositions and court cases and talking to different people involved in this case, it's not as if he kept all of the information forever. It was transferred. Allegedly, it was transferred to Leslie Wexner. When I came into this in 2019, when I discovered that Jeffrey Epstein had been arrested, I came in because of my abuser's connection to Leslie Wexner. That's how I came into this, because I'm like, okay, I can bring in some information that I know about Wexner. And I came in having known for a couple of years, I don't even know how long, I would have to look at my records, that in my abuser's family, there was a connection to the Franklin scandal, and that I knew that my abuser was connected a little bit higher than Ehud Barak. So Ehud Barak is the former prime minister of Israel. My abuser and his family are connected to the CIA and Mossad. I came in with that information to share that information. And it has been almost impossible for me to share that information because of the attacks that I get when I try to say anything about the connection to the CIA and or Mossad. And it has made some people, not everybody is asleep at the wheel. However, there are some people who see through these tactics, who are aware of what happens, and who have begun to question the role of the attorneys. So I remember telling everybody when Christian Everdale was selected by Ghislaine Maxwell, I was the first person to write his bio on my Twitter, and that was copied by mainstream media. But, what they failed to do, other than we all knew about David Boies, what mainstream media has failed to do is to really conduct an in-depth analysis of how Stanley Pottinger, who became Bradley Edwards' attorney and who was connected also to David Boies, sort of how these two men, Boys and Pottinger, became part of Brad Edwards' law practice and basically took over how he was handling the case on behalf of the victims that he represented. That story was never told by mainstream media. Mainstream media will not tell you that story, but I have been dropping that story on my Twitter for a long time. And I think it's even in some of my books. I would have to go back and check to see where. But there are other people who are picking up on that and questioning it. What's going on? What's going on? Is there an Epstein cover-up from the inside? In my opinion, it just looks that way, doesn't it? It looks that way. Everything that tries to surface is shut down. So to finish, when I sent the cease and desist letter to David Boies in January, I sent a copy to him, a copy to Bradley Edwards, and I copied Virginia. And I didn't hear back from any of them, but what happened immediately was that Maria Farmer's Twitter account disappeared, gone. And when I put up my GoFundMe, and by the way, thank you so much to those of you who have contributed to my GoFundMe for legal expenses. I really, I didn't really anticipate I was going to sue anyone or need to hire an attorney. I somehow thought that it would resolve itself. I wasn't on top of all of the terrible things that were being done to me. I didn't know the extent of the harm Maria had done to me until recently. So it was time for me to take action to stop that. When I learned she was going to be on Nick Bryant's show, having heard from someone else that she had bad-mouthed me on many shows, I sent Nick an email basically saying, hey, this is what's happening. Don't let her badmouth me on your show, because literally I have to find out anybody who's she's, on whose show she has done this to me, to defame me and to discredit me. And, because I have to include that in the information I give to the attorney that I retained. And I'm paraphrasing. And I basically said, if you want to talk about it, call me. Well, he didn't call me, but I did watch the interview. It's difficult for me to watch her because she's done so much damage to me. But when I heard her say that she was, it's sort of like at the 20-minute in, she hadn't said anything. And I noticed that Nick had edited the video. So I'm like, okay. I went along with it because I'm like, okay, I'm watching this and I see that he's edited the video. So it could be that he's listened to what I told him and he is not going to allow himself to be dragged into what's kind of like, an unnecessary thing, because we're all really fighting for the same end result. So in any event, at around the 20-minute mark, she said there's a tiny little gag order. It's really interesting. Her choice of words is really interesting. Well, so she didn't mention me. And so I have to think, it's my understanding, and I will be following up to see if I'm correct, that David Boies, they watch our Twitter feeds, by the way. They watch all of our social media, and especially mine, because I'm the most vocal. I do this every day. That she said she had a tiny gag order. Okay, so it seems that the attorneys are aware that I have a GoFundMe to, follow this through. And it's not something they want because it's going to discredit many people. It's not something they want. but it's something I had to do. So I want to thank the people who have stepped up and been very generous and supported my GoFundMe. It was not easy for me to create one, right? Because it's like, seriously, I have to do this, but I did. So, there's a link, I believe, on my Twitter account. If you guys want to step up and help me out with this, I would appreciate that. But that's not the purpose of this podcast. I really just want to say that this is the silver lining. We have been exposed to the backstabbing, the attempts to pit us against each other, the lies, the people who pretend to be one thing, but they're something else, people who cozy up to you and become your new best friend only to backstab you. So yeah, I mean, this is what happens when you're working with an intelligence operation. We're not military trained, at least I'm not, and I know many of you are not either. We're not spies. I'm not a CIA agent. I'm not a Mossad agent. So I haven't been trained in the art of what to do. I know that I'm super careful now about who I let close to me. And this comes from my experience having been befriended by people who were put into my life. But I didn't really see it coming, let's say, for example, with the Maria situation. But that did teach me, okay, well, I can't let other people get too close to me. I'll do what I can do. I will research. I do write books. My memoir has been out for a very long time. In fact, it's in its second edition. And so what we get from this is the ability to say, okay, these are the tricks, and they wouldn't be so gung-ho and persistent in trying to have us shut down if we were not on the right track. This means we are on the right track. Let's stay on it. This is it. I mean, this is our opportunity to just keep going. Whether or not the Epstein victims join us on this mission, we're still helping to expose predatory behavior. I know that many of you have had horrific experiences, and I'm sorry that I'm not a healthcare professional, because that's not my role to sort of like help anyone. I've had many people try to come to me with your stories. I'm sorry, I just don't know what to do other than say I'm sorry that you went through that. But we're doing this and we're doing it together. And I say, like, literally, bravo to all of us. They can't throw anything else at us. This is truly a turning point. And I'm going to just say, let's look at it for what it is. It's a gift. It's a sign that we are on the right track. So anyway, go back to your Sunday, go back to your Mother's Day. Don't like the video, and we'll talk again next time. Bye-bye.